Organization and management of early childhood care education centers. Under this, today we are dealing with the topic common teaching strategies. The objective of this lesson is to understand the teaching strategies for early childhood education and to know about the developmentally appropriate practices. Module 1, Introduction. Teaching strategy. Teaching strategies, it refers to the students, the structure, system, methods, techniques, procedures and the process that a teacher uses during the instruction. Learning activities refer to the teacher guided instructional tasks or assignments for students. The kindergarten teachers are responsible for teaching the children basic skills that will prepare them for elementary grades. The main skills that are taught are reading and math, and the teacher should create the lesson plans, grade the student work, manage the classroom behavior and work with the parents to ensure that students are succeeding. Teaching strategy is consciously directed by a teacher because it involves the psychologically based learning methods for children. The strategy is a concept aimed at searching for an answer why, while the method is a concrete indication addressing the question how. In light of the modern psychology, one indicates 4 models of human learning and the results of the teaching strategy. Let us have a look at these 4 models. The first one is the behavioral model of learning through the use of external reinforcements. External reinforcements includes the conditioning mechanisms, punishments, awards and modeling. This is an essence for the so called direct and programmable learning through stimulation. Then the second one is learning based on active processing of information, which includes assimilation and generation. It is stimulated by such learning resources as providing and explaining the information, the lecture, talk, description, narration, inductive learning models, the cognitive maps, asking questions and metaphors, evaluation and troubleshooting questions. Then comes learning in collaboration or synergy, that is collective intelligence and peer learning method. It is used in such learning strategies as working in pairs, learning in small groups and productions. Holistic comprehensive learning, that is integration of emotional and mental sides of the personality. The use of imagination and experiment, which is a conscious perception of the situation and its active processing, and it is a therapy based forms such as learning with advisor. So, these are some of the models for learning. Module 2, Effective Teaching Strategies. Let us have a look of some effective teaching strategies which can be used in early education. The first strategy is visualization. Visualization is bringing the dull academic concepts to life with visual and practical learning experiences. It helps the students to understand how their schooling is going to apply in the real world. The examples include using the interactive whiteboard to display photos, audio clips and videos, as well as encouraging the students to get into experiments and visiting the field trips. The next effective strategy is cooperative learning. Here, encouraging the students of mixed abilities to work together by promoting the small groups or the whole class activities. Through verbally expressing their ideas and responding to other students, they will be developing the self-confidence as well as enhance their communication and critical thinking skills, which are vital throughout the life. Solving mathematical puzzles, conducting scientific experiments and acting out short drama, this sketches out a few examples of how cooperative learning can be incorporated into the classroom lessons. Inquiry based instruction. thought-provoking questions which inspires the students to think for themselves and become more independent learners. Encouraging the students to ask questions and investigate them in their own ideas helps to improve their problem solving skills as well as gain a deeper understanding of the academic concepts. Both are very important life skills. Differentiation. Differentiate teaching by allocating tasks based on the student's abilities to ensure that no student is left behind. Assigning the classroom activities according to the student's unique learning needs means the individuals with higher academic capabilities are stretched and those who are struggling will be getting appropriate support. This can involve handing out worksheets that vary in complexity to different group of students or setting up a range of workstations around the classroom which contains assortment of the tasks for the students to succeed and they can choose from. Technology in the classroom. Incorporating technology into teaching is a great way to actively engage the students. Interactive whiteboards, mobile devices can be used to display images, videos that will be helping the students to visualize the academic concepts. Learning can become more interactive with technology, and when this technology is used, the students can physically engage during the classes as well as instantly research their ideas, which develops independence in the children. Mobile devices such as iPads, Android tablets can be used in the classroom. These are some of the effective teaching strategies. After having understood the effective teaching strategies, let us have a look upon developmentally appropriate practices. Module 3, Developmentally Appropriate Practices. Developmentally appropriate practices, it focuses on making sure that the educators are providing opportunities to learn that are right for the age of the students. After all, we could not expect a 3-year-old to learn the same way like a 13-year-old. A good educator focuses on knowing about the child development and learning, knowing what is appropriate for each individual students and knowing what is culturally appropriate. Let us look at some of the guidelines. There are essentially 5 guidelines for effective teaching in developmentally appropriate practices. The first one is creating a community of learners. This includes making the classroom a safe space for children to express themselves and ask questions and try out their ideas. The second guideline is to teaching to enhance development and learning. This includes acknowledging each student's strength and challenging and helping them to support themselves. Then the third guideline is planning the curriculum to achieve the important goals. The fourth one is assessing the child's development and learning. And lastly, establishing reciprocal relationship with the family, and the student's family will be involved in the learning process, which will be the best outcomes. So, these are some of the guidelines for assessing the developmentally appropriate practices. Now, let us look upon the principles of child development and learning. All the areas of development and learning are important. Learning and development, both of them follow some sequence. Development and learning proceed at varying rates. Development and learning result from an interaction between maturation and experience. Early experiences have a profound effect on development and learning. Development proceeds towards a greater opportunity of complexity, self-regulation and symbolic or representational capacities. Children develop the best when they have secure relationship. The development and learning occurs and is influenced by multiple social and cultural contexts. Children learn in a variety of ways. Not only this, but the play is also an important vehicle for developing the self-regulation and promoting language, cognition and social competence. Development and learning advances when the children are challenged. The children's experiences shape their motivation and approach to learning. These are some of the principles of the child's development and learning. So, after having understood the effective teaching strategies, developmentally appropriate practices and the principles that are affecting the child's development and learning, let us see some of the common teaching strategies in early childhood education. Like we all know, there are so many teaching strategies available in early childhood professionals commonly are using. Among all these teaching strategies, sensory engagement, environmental cues, task analysis are some of the methods of this teaching strategies. Let us look at each teaching strategy in detail. Sensory engagement. All learning begins with perception, seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling. Thus, the children learn best by using all their senses. Every activity for young children would naturally include a higher level of sensory engagement by the children. The most effective means of sensory engagement is first-hand experience. This means the teacher must consider the ways to give children direct contact with real objects, people, places and events. To teach children about the color green, provide objects of many shades of green to see and handle by the children. When teaching about the pomegranates, show the children the real pomegranate and give them the opportunity to examine them through taste, touch and smell. The next effective strategy is environmental cues. Environmental cues signals the children about expectations that may not be specified. For example, a sign on the cracker basket with a hand showing 3 fingers or the numeral 3 indicates that each child may take 3 crackers. These non-verbal supports the objectives related to independence, cooperation and self-regulation. The next common strategy is task analysis. Task analysis, it involves identifying the sequence of steps a child might follow to achieve something and some multi-step behavior such as setting the table, getting the dress or completing a long division problem. Such analysis are necessary to help the children gradually accomplish the tasks that are too challenging to master all at one time. The next common teaching strategy is chaining and successive approximation. The teacher often uses chaining or successive approximation to support children through the steps they have identified as a result of the task analysis. Both of these strategies consist of building a task a little at a time to support the child in learning a complex set of behavior. Chaining, it involves introducing the steps of a task one at a time. As children master the first step, a new step is added and so forth until they successfully demonstrate the total completion of a task. Successive approximation consists of rewarding the children for gradually approximating the desired goals. The next common strategy is scaffolding. Scaffolding is a process of providing and then gradually removing the external support for children's learning. During the scaffolding process, the original task is not changed, but how the child participates in the task is made easier with assistance. As the children take more responsibility for pursuing an object assistant is gradually withdrawn. The scaffolding process begins with the teacher providing maximum assistance and taking primary responsibility for pursuing the object. The next common strategy is guided practice. One basic premise of early childhood education is that the children learn through repetition. Learning does not appear in a single episode. The children need many opportunities to engage the concept, explore the ideas and try out the skills to gain mastery. In other words, the child needs a chance to practice what they are learning and to utilize what they have learned in a new situation. And then they have to practice it in variety of forms like rehearsals. That is, the children hear a story several times, then help the teacher tell it before telling it on their own. The children rehearses answering the phone in housekeeping areas. The children pretend to put on their outdoor clothing in sequence before trying them in a real items. Then the next way of rehearsing is rehearsing an activity with variation. That is, for example, the children sort out the shells one day, sort out the fruits and vegetables the another day and sort out the rocks on the third day. The next type is elaborators. That is, the children associate a current skill or event with the previous one. For example, the children recognize the process of recording observation of the fish in aquarium today and is similar to the observation records that made last week about the insects outdoors. The next type of teaching strategy is paraphase reflections. Paraphase reflections, they are similar in form to behavioral reflections. Paraphase reflections are restatements in words of something the child has said. These are sometimes referred to as the verbal expressions or using words by active listening, which are slightly different from those regularly spoken by the child. At times, such reflections prompt the children to expand on what they are saying, and these verbal expressions help them to refine, clarify the concepts and messages. When children are exposed to teachers' reflection, they also gain valuable insights into their thinking. Such insights influence on how they proceed with the activity as well as help them shape the direction of their future planning. Situation: outdoors, a child is sorting the leaves into two piles. These leaves are pointed out. These leaves are round. He found two kinds of leaves. The next common teaching strategy is modeling. Children learn many things by imitating others. Teachers can enhance the effectiveness of classroom activities when they deliberately use modeling to help the children to learn new or appropriate behavior. They have the greatest impact when the behavior is obvious to the children. Thus, the children are the best able to imitate a model with whom they can interact or whose behavior is pointed out to them. And this kind of behavior will be helping the child to have the model of their own behavior. Then the next effective teaching strategy is effective praise. Educators often assume that praise automatically promotes the child's positive behaviors and encourages the children to persist at tasks. Ineffective praise is generally repetitive and it is not genuine. It evaluates the children, compares them with one another in unfavorable ways, links their success to luck and tends to interrupt their work and concentration. Conversely, effective praise is very specific, acknowledges the children's action and compares their progress with their past performance. It links their success to effort and ability and is individualized to fit the child and the situation, and it helps the child to have a effective behavior. The next strategy is telling, explaining and informing. The important information is conveyed to the children through telling them, explaining them. Effective explanation builds on the child's first-hand experiences and take place in a context that is meaningful to them. Such is the case when the teacher plans to teach a new game by referring to the situations and skills already familiar to the children. Telling and explaining, informing in the early childhood education, it involves more than merely reacting to the facts. Such information is tied to the children experiences and it requires involvement by them and then go beyond the simple listening. Effective teachers look at each activity in terms of explanation or information that may be necessary to support the child's learning. The teachers also make sure that sufficient background to answer the children's questions accurately. The next strategy is do it signals. Simple directions to the children such as look here, tell me what you have seen, show me how you like to dance, put together the leaves that are alike. Such questions or do it signals beginning with a verb do it signals, or they are the short statements that prompt the children to engage in an action. In other words, they tell the children to do something. The next one is challenges. Challenges are open-ended variations of do it signals. Challenges motivate the children to create their own solutions to the teacher suggested tasks. In this way, the challenges provide shared opportunities for the children and adults to control activity outcomes. Adults shape the initial direction of activity and the children determine its application. The next one is questions. Questions are the basic instruction tools common to every childhood classroom. However, the kind of questions the adult asks or dictates the quality of the answers. They are receivable. Effective questions are purposed, that is, they are tied directly to the objectives you are trying to teach the child. They are thought provoking, that is, going beyond the obvious to stimulate higher levels of thinking. They should be very clear, that is, understandable and brief, up to the point. The questions that meet these standards are most likely to gain the children's These questions that meet these standards are most likely to gain the children's attention and help them learn. When questions are simply to pass the time or when they are not too many in number and become intrusive, the children stop paying attention and the quality of their responses will be decreasing. So, today we have learnt about the common teaching strategies. We have understood what are the effective teaching strategies, the developmentally appropriate practices that are necessary in early childhood classrooms, and also we have understood the principles of child development and learning, how they have linked, and also we have understood several types of common teaching strategies which can be employed in a early childhood education centers. Hope you have understood the lesson. Thank you.